Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 A minute ago, the verse was on the screen, and if it is on the screen, I will read it from the screen. Otherwise, I'll read it from the book. Yes. So we read Srimad-Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 8, Prayers by Queen Kunti, text 31. Gopyada de tvai krita gasidhamatavad yate dashashukali lanjana sambrakam mapsham vaktram niniya bhaya bhavanaya stitasya samam vimohayati bir apiyad bibeti Gopya dade tvai kritagasi damatavad yate dashashukali lanjana sambramaksham vaktram niniya bhaya bhavanaya stitasya samam vimohayati bir apiyad bibeti. Synonyms. Gopi, the cowherd lady Yashoda, Adade, took up Tvai on your Krita Agasi, creating disturbances by breaking the butter pot. Dhamma, rope. Tavat, at that time. Ya, that which. Te, your. Dasha, situation.
आलू बनने रखे हैं वो देखिए आलू में सीटी लग तो रही है ना देखकर
Somebody needs to get muted. Yeah, thank you. So I'll repeat the last one. Ashru Kalila, overflooded with tears. Anjana, ointment. Sambrama, perturbed. Aksham, eyes. Vaktram, face. Niniya, downwards. Bhaya, bhavanaya, by thoughts of fear. Stitasya, of the situation. Sa, that. Mam, me. Vimohayati, bewilders. Be api, even fear personified. Yat, whom. Bibheti, is afraid. Translation. My dear Krishna, Yashoda took up a rope to bind you when you committed an offense, and your perturbed eyes overflooded with tears. which washed the mascara from your eyes, and you were afraid, though fear personified is afraid of you. This sight is bewildering to me. So as I read the purport, I will comment. So it won't be very helpful to have the purport on the screen. So purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Here is another explanation of the bewilderment created by the pastimes of the Lord. The Supreme Lord is the supreme in all circumstances, as already explained. Here is a specific example of the Lord's being the supreme and at the same time a plaything in the presence of His pure devotee. So generally, Lord Krishna is approached with awe and veneration, great respect and obeisance. But sometimes Krishna wants to be chastised. But who can chastise Krishna? Only the purest of devotees to whom the Lord is prepared to become the plaything, as Srila Prabhupada mentions. And this desire of Krishna's is explained in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila, chapter 4, text 17. He says, all the universe is filled with the conception of my majesty, but love weakened by the sense of majesty does not satisfy me. If one regards me as the Supreme Lord and himself as a subordinate, I do not become subservient to his love, nor can it control me. In whatever transcendental mellow my devotee worships me, I reciprocate with him. That is my natural behavior. Yeyatam mam prapadyante tam stataiva bhajamyaham mama mama anuvartante anusya partha sarvashaha. In whatever way my devotees surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Everyone follows my path in all respects, O son of Pritha. If one cherishes pure loving devotion to me, thinking of me as his son, his friend, or his beloved, regarding himself as great, and considering me as equal or inferior, I become subordinate to him. Mother sometimes binds me as her son. She nourishes and protects me, thinking me utterly helpless. Taking these pure devotees with me, I shall descend and sport in various wonderful ways, unknown even in Vaikuntha. I shall broadcast such pastimes by which even I am amazed. And to facilitate Krishna's pastimes, he invokes his potency known as Yogamaya. There's Mahamaya and Yogamaya. Mahamaya is the potency that deludes the fallen conditioned souls and makes them forget Krishna. But Yogamaya partially reveals Krishna and partially conceals him. She reveals him as the perfect person, but she conceals his godhood from his pure devotees in Goloka Vrindavan, or in Vrindavan on earth when Krishna manifested his pastimes here. And by the influence of Yogamaya, the devotees forget that Krishna is God. And by the influence of Yogamaya, Krishna also forgets that he is God. So when he is afraid of being chastised by Mother Yashoda, he's not pretending. By the influence of Yogamaya, he forgets that he's God, and he identifies himself as the child of Yashoda. And so when she, picks up the stick, he really becomes fearful. And that is the beauty of how the Lord reciprocates with his pure devotees, yayatamam prapadyante. So, yes, the Lord's pure devotee renders service unto the Lord out of unalloyed love only. And while discharging such devotional service, the pure devotee forgets the position of the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord also accepts the loving service of his devotees more relishably when the service is rendered spontaneously out of pure affection, without anything of reverential admiration. We discussed that, and Krishna himself, as presented to us in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, says the same thing. Generally, the Lord is worshipped by the devotee in a reverential attitude, but the Lord is meticulously pleased when the devotee, out of pure affection and love, considers the Lord to be less important than himself. Sometimes Srila Prabhupada said that, and yes, we should understand what this means, pure affection. It means kevala. The technical word is kevala, mentioned in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. It means without consideration whether Krishna is God or not. There's no condition that if Krishna is God, I will love him and serve him, but not if he's not God. But on the platform of pure love in Goloka Vrindavan, the pure devotees love Krishna spontaneously without considering whether he's God or not. They they couldn't care less if he's God or not, but they are attracted to him. And the very name Krishna means all attractive, and they are attracted to Krishna spontaneously, without any consideration of whether he's God or not. The Lord's pastimes in the original abode of Goloka Vrindavan are exchanged in that spirit. The friends of Krishna consider him one of them. They do not consider him to be of reverential importance. The parents of the Lord, who are all pure devotees, consider him a child only. The Lord accepts the chastisements of the parents more cheerfully than the prayers of the Vedic hymns. Similarly, he accepts the reproaches of his fiancées more palatably than the Vedic hymns. Now, here in this purport, Srila Prabhupada is, paraphrasing the statements in Chaitanya Charitamrita, some of which I quoted. And I didn't read these because I was focusing on Vatsalya Ras, on Mother Yashoda's relationship with Krishna, and so I read Adi 4:24. Mother sometimes binds me as her son. Mother sometimes binds me as her son. She nourishes and protects me, thinking me utterly helpless. Then text 25. My friends climb on my shoulders in pure friendship, saying, what kind of a big man are you? You and I are equal. 26. If my beloved consort reproaches me in a sulky mood, that steals my mind from the reverent hymns of the Vedas. So, exactly these points. The Lord accepts the chastisements of the parents more cheerfully than the prayers of the Vedic hymns. Similarly, he accepts the reproaches of his fiancées more palatably than the Vedic hymns. When Lord Krishna was present in this material world to manifest his eternal pastimes of the transcendental realm of Goloka Vrindavan as an attraction for the people in general, he displayed a unique picture of subordination before his foster mother, Yashoda. So there's Goloka Vrindavan in the spiritual sky, and then there's Gokul Vrindavan in the material world. And I say it's in the material world, but actually the spiritual Vrindavan descends into the material world and is spiritual. Although if someone goes to Vrindavan, they will see whatever, a lot of dirt and pigs and, well, monkeys, of course, were there with Krishna. But they will think, what is this? This doesn't seem spiritual to me. This doesn't look like the kingdom of God. But Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains that to preserve the confidentiality of the Dham is covered by a thin layer of Maya. And so ordinary people, they see that thin layer of Maya and they think, some people think, what a disgusting place. But pure devotees, they can see beyond that thin covering of Maya to the actual spiritual Vrindavan. So ultimately, there's no difference between the Goloka Vrindavan in the spiritual world and the Vrindavan manifested in the material world, if we have the eyes to see it. And Srila Prabhupada gives the example of an embassy. For example, say I'll say the American embassy in India. Technically, legally, it is not India. It is America. So similarly, when Krishna's abode descends to the material world, it's not in the material world, but it is still the spiritual world. Okay, so now we'll go back to the beautiful purport. The Lord, in his naturally childish, playful activities, used to spoil the stocked butter of Mother Yashoda by breaking the pots and distributing the contents to his friends and playmates, including the celebrated monkeys of Vrindavan, who took advantage of the Lord's munificence. So many of you are familiar with the story as related in Srimad-Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 9. Mother Yashoda binds Krishna. But in brief, Mother Yashoda was feeding Krishna with her breast milk. But then she noticed that the milk pan that was on the fire was starting to boil over. And so she set aside baby Krishna to tend to the overflowing milk pan, which was necessary. But Krishna, not having been satisfied drinking his mother's breast milk, which actually is her love, Krishna became angry. And so he broke a pot of yogurt that his mother was turning into butter, and he distributed its contents. And then when Mother Yashoda returned from the fire to where she had left Krishna, she saw that the pot had been broken, and that Krishna was gone. And she concluded that the mischief was the work of Krishna. And his little feet were smeared with butter. And so she followed those footprints, those butter-smeared footprints, to catch Krishna. And then there assumed a chase. Mother Yashoda was chasing Krishna. And although Krishna cannot be caught by the greatest gyanis and yogis, but he did allow himself to be caught by Mother Yashoda. And then she wanted to bind him with ropes to prevent him, not so much as a punishment, but more to prevent him from engaging in further mischief. And in one purport in the 10th canto, 9th chapter, Srila Prabhupada says that the boy, Krishna, was so restless that Mother Yashoda was afraid that he might run away from the house because because she had chastised him. And so she wanted to bind him with ropes so he wouldn't run away. And so that brings us to this Damodar lila. So we'll go back to the purport. So Mother Yashoda saw this, and out of her pure love, she wanted to make a show of punishment for her transcendental child. She took a rope and threatened the Lord that she would tie him up, as is generally done in the ordinary household. And Srila Prabhupada, speaking on this verse once, commented that in India, the parents do that sometimes. If the child is too mischievous, they tie him. So, as a preventive measure against further mischief. She took a rope and threatened the Lord that she would tie him up, as is generally done in the ordinary household. Seeing the rope in the hands of Mother Yashoda, the Lord bowed down his head and began to weep just like a child, and tears rolled down his cheeks, washing off the black ointment smeared about his beautiful eyes. So these words in the verse are very significant, which Srila Prabhupada is commenting on here in the purport. And Vaktram Niniya, his face was downwards, like he was repenting or making a show of repenting for his offense, for his misdeed. And he began to weep. Just like a child, and tears rolled down his cheeks, washing off the black ointment smeared about his beautiful eyes. Now, Lord Krishna has 6 opulences. In fact, Bhagavan, the word Bhagavan, means one who is full in 6 opulences, who possesses all 6 opulences in full. Bhaga means opulence, and Van means one who possesses. And Srila Prabhupada says that in this pastime, Krishna is showing his opulence of, I'll give you a few seconds to think. What opulence is Krishna displaying here? Srila Prabhupada said Krishna is displaying his opulence of beauty. That this sight is so beautiful, so enchanting, so charming. And therefore in the Damodar Astakam, Satyavrata Muni prays that may this vision always be manifest before my eyes, because Krishna is so beautiful. So back to the purport. Kunti was conscious of the exalted position of Krishna, whereas Yashoda was not. Therefore, Yashoda's position was more exalted than Kunti's. In other words, comparatively, because Mother Yashoda was acting out of spontaneous love, thinking of Krishna as her son, her subordinate, to whom she was superior as his mother. On that platform of pure love, Mother Yashoda stands superior to Kunti. But although Kunti was a resident of Hastinapur, not of Vrindavan, but she was aware of the Lord's pastimes in Vrindavan, and she was appreciating the affection exchange between Mother Yashoda and child Krishna. Mother Yashoda got the Lord as her child, and the Lord made her forget altogether that her child was the Lord himself through the agency of Yogamaya. And as I mentioned, Krishna himself came under Yogamaya, so he also forgot his position as the Lord. But Krishna has many potencies, and although in Vrindavan generally, Krishna does not act as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but he acts as an ordinary cowherd boy. But when necessary, he does remember. For example, when there is a forest fire, Krishna swallowed the forest fire. So Krishna has his lila shakti, his pastime potency. So when there's need, the lila shakti intervenes and reminds Krishna that he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead who has supernatural powers, and that he needs to show those supernatural powers for the sake of his devotees. Everything Krishna does ultimately is for the sake of his devotees. But here in this case, he's fully under Yogamaya, and he has become a plaything in the hands of Mother Yashoda. So back to the purport. So yes, if Mother Yashoda had been conscious of the exalted position of the Lord, she would certainly have hesitated to punish the Lord. But she was made to forget this situation because the Lord wanted to make a complete gesture of childishness before the affectionate Yashoda. This exchange of love between the mother and the son was performed in a natural way. And Kunti, remembering the scene, was bewildered, and she could do nothing but praise the transcendental, maternal, and filial love. Indirectly, Mother Yashoda is praised for her unique position of love, for she could control even the all-powerful Lord as her beloved child. And this statement of Srila Prabhupada's is confirmed in Srimad-Bhagavatam in a very striking verse. This is again Srimad-Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 9. Mother Yashoda binds Krishna. And the verse goes, Nimam virincho na bhavo nashir apyanga samshraya prasadam lebire gopi yatat prapa vimuktidat. Translation: neither Lord Brahma, nor Lord Shiva, nor even the goddess of fortune, who is always the better half of the Supreme Lord, can obtain from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the deliverer from this material world, such mercy as received by Mother Yashoda. And in his purport, Srila Prabhupada states, this is a comparative study between Mother Yashoda and other devotees of the Lord. As stated in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi 5:142, Ekale Ishwara Krishna Arda Sabritya. The only Supreme Master is Krishna, and all others are his servants. Krishna has the transcendental quality of Britya Vashyata, becoming subordinate to his Britya, or servant. That Sanskrit phrase is also mentioned here in this section. Krishna has the transcendental quality of Britya Vashyata, becoming subordinate to his Britya, or servant. Now, although everyone is Britya, and although Krishna has the quality of becoming subordinate to his Britya, the position of Mother Yashoda is the greatest. Lord Brahma is Britya, a servant of Krishna, and he is Adhikave, the original creator of the universe. Tene Brahma Hridaya Adhikave. Nonetheless, even he could not obtain such mercy as Mother Yashoda. As for Lord Shiva, he is the topmost Vaishnava, Vaishnavanamyata Shambhu. What to speak of Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, is the Lord's constant companion in service, since she always associates with his body. But even she could not get such mercy. Therefore, Maharaj Parikshit was surprised, thinking, what did Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj do in their previous lives, by which they got such a great opportunity, the opportunity to be the affectionate father and mother of Krishna? In this verse, there are three negative pronouncements. Na, na, na. When anything is uttered three times, do it, do it, do it. Chant, chant, chant. One should understand that this is meant to indicate great stress on effect. In this verse, we find nalebire, nalebire, nalebire. Yet Mother Yashoda is in the supermost exalted position, and thus Krishna has become completely subordinate to her. That exalted platform of prema is described by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as prema pumartho mahan. And Mother Yashoda naturally acts in such an exalted position in loving affairs. She is therefore a Nitya Siddha devotee, an expansion of Krishna's Sladini potency, his potency to enjoy transcendental bliss through expansions who are special devotees. Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Prapi Bhavitabi. So this is an indication of Mother Yashoda's exalted position, practically more exalted than any other devotee of Krishna. Of course, Srimati Radharani is exalted, but in a different way. But yeah, Mother Yashoda, she is so exalted that, as Prabhupada said, Krishna became a plaything in her hands, and she could chase Krishna and capture him, and ultimately bind him with ropes. And just before concluding, I will mention that when Mother Yashoda initially tried to bind Krishna with ropes, the ropes were always the width of 2 fingers too short. So she got more ropes and added it, but still 2 fingers too short. And she kept adding ropes, and she had a lot of ropes because they're in a cowherd community, so they needed a lot of ropes. And she kept adding more ropes, and she was always 2 fingers too short. And this was very surprising, because every morning Yashoda would help Krishna to get dressed, and she would tie his belt around his waist, and she never had any trouble. Just a little belt, no trouble. But now with ropes and ropes and ropes, even her friends were bringing their ropes. She couldn't bind Krishna, always 2 fingers too short. But in the end, Krishna, seeing her hard labor, was merciful to her and allowed her to bind him. And in that verse in Srimad-Bhagavatam, there are 2 significant words. One is parishram, which means one's own endeavor or hard labor. And the other is Krishna Kripa, which means Krishna's mercy. And the acharyas explain that that width of 2 fingers was covered by those 2 elements. One width was covered by parishram, by Mother Yashoda's earnest endeavor, and the other was covered by Krishna Kripa, by Krishna's mercy. And so in our devotional efforts, these 2 elements are required for success: our own effort and Krishna's mercy. If we think, I won't make any effort, I'll just pray to Krishna for his mercy, that will not be sufficient. And if we think, I'll be successful just by my own efforts, I don't need Krishna's mercy, that also will not work. So we need that combination of parishram and Krishna Kripa, and then we can bind Krishna. When we chant our japa, we're trying to bind Krishna in our minds, and sometimes it's not easy. But when these 2 ingredients combine, parishram, our effort, and Krishna Kripa, Krishna's mercy, we'll be able to bind Krishna. I mean, we're not really binding him, but out of his mercy, he will allow us to bind him by his mercy. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak on this relishable pastime.